From the News 19 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante, and welcome to Friday night after we had, after a quiet fall last year, now we had Hurricane Ian. And for those of you who didn't see it, Hurricane Ian made landfall in the area around Georgetown at about 2:05 this afternoon. It was still being tracked as a Category 1 hurricane of 85-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and at times was gusting over 105 miles an hour. Location of the landfall at 2:05 put it right in between Georgetown and McClellanville, and that's where it made its landfall, officially still as a Category 1 hurricane with winds of at least 85 miles an hour. The good thing is that it moved quickly through South Carolina. Now, looking at the data that we had from 8 o'clock, you can see how it really ramped up as it made its way through. This is over the last 4 hours. Its position right now is about 45 miles to the northeast of Florence. It's actually just crossing over into North Carolina. Wind sustained at 60 miles an hour. At times it's been gusting about 80 miles an hour. It's still moving north. The pressure at 990, it's still a relatively strong area of low pressure. And the reason why it's called post-tropical, it still has wind characteristics of a tropical storm, but because of the way it's formed right now, it's basically nothing but a rainmaker. That's why it's now gone to a post-tropical instead of just saying it's done. It really is done. But the position is going to continue moving away from us, and this is already not going to be an issue as far as the center of location and where it's going to go. South Carolina is clear. We still do have tropical storm warnings for portions of the Midlands. It does not include Saluda or Newberry counties or Aiken, but it does cover the rest of our Midland communities and all the way into the PD, Grand Strand, at least parts of the Low Country. And the reason why? Well, today we had winds here in the Midlands. The highest regular wind speeds got up to about 35, 36 miles an hour, and especially on the eastern portions of the Midlands. But the wind gusts, everybody could feel it. Many areas of the Midlands got over 30 miles an hour, and areas along I-95, the winds gusted over 50. Now, the wind sustained at 40 miles an hour would be tropical storm warning strength. But these wind gusts still, 50 is 50, no matter how you slice it. It had been a very windy day. Right now, winds are continuing out of the northwest, generally at the highest 20 to 25 miles an hour. It still has wind gusts though, especially in the northern half of the Midlands. See, 30 mile an hour wind gusts in Newberry, 40 mile an hour wind gusts in Bishopville. This is going to continue for a while. Now look at these latest peak wind gusts. Columbia got up to about 37. Again, this is the wind gust, not sustained winds. And Orangeburg got up to about 38. Sumter, 37. Manning got up to 44 mile an hour wind gusts, and Winnsboro also at 37. Other areas, Camden got up to 38. Aiken at 39. Down in Charleston, now this would be Charleston at the airport, not by the battery. Charleston had a 68 mile an hour wind gust. It did record over at the battery a 92 mile an hour wind gust about 12:30 this afternoon. Of course, the Low Country and the Grand Strand got the most impact. But take a look at this. This is the amount of storm reports given to the National Weather Service. So this would be for the National Weather Service in Greer, Greenville, Spartanburg, for Wilmington, and of course for Columbia, and then for Charleston. You're looking at least 46 reports of hurricane-type damage. That could be for anywhere from trees to poles being knocked down to homes getting damaged. That is a lot for just a Category 1. That's why we always say, forget about the category and forget about whether it's a tropical storm. It's a storm, and it's going to produce a lot of wind out of it and a lot of rain. Here in the Midlands, we had nearly 70 reports of either flooding, heavy rainfall, thunderstorm damage. We didn't have any thunderstorms. We did have very strong gusty winds. And then near 60 reports of something related to tropical storm wind damage. In particular, we had one report that came out of Orangeburg. This is right over in Santee. The report was that the mezzanette at the university, the Clemson University mezzanette in Santee, recorded in a span of just a little bit under an hour, 4.52 inches of rain. no matter where you are in the Midlands. You get nearly 5 inches of rain in about an hour or 2 hours, it's going to cause flooding. In Lexington, this would have been right over in the area of Pond Branch Road and I-20, were reported of roadway flooding. Everyone knows that when you're going down I-26, once you pass the exit for number 6 and Longs Pond, everything is downhill. That's where all the flooding ended up. And that was early this morning. Keep in mind that early this morning we had really heavy bands of rainfall in portions of the central and west central Midland communities. And of course, we had a lot of trees going down. And this one in particular, this was just before lunchtime today in Clarendon County in Manning. Power line fell down on Dillon Street. Well, if you want to know why we've had sporadic power outages or just flat out power outages that last for a while, that was one of the many reasons. As windy as it was and as much as the saturation as the ground got, trees went down, and we had talked about this. Trees go down on a power line or a dead tree coming down, your power is going out. Now, overall, what we're experiencing at this time is the amount of rainfall so far. Now, these are estimates. The radar is indicating that in the areas of the Low Country and the Grand Strand really got the bullseye. Look over here. In areas of Williamsburg as well as in Horry County, anywhere from 3 to almost 3.5 inches of rainfall. Look at down here in the Low Country. Areas, especially from, Harleyville all the way down to Somerville, estimated 5 to nearly 6 inches of rainfall. You get into the areas right around Sullivan's Island, near 6, over by the Battery, estimated 10 to 12 inches of rainfall. That's not the storm surge, that's just the rain coming down. Now, that's them. Look at what we got here in the Midlands. These are radar estimates again. In the far western Midlands, conservatively, maybe up to an inch of rainfall. When you get into the northern portions of the Midlands, so Fairfield, Kershaw, Lee counties, an inch to an inch and a half. Same thing when you get into most areas of Upper Richland and Lexington. But look at this. Lower Richland, 2.5. Sumter, near 2.5. Manning, near 2.5. Same thing when you get to St. Matthews, maybe a little bit less than downtown Orangeburg, near 2 inches. But watch this. When you get into the areas just coming down the Wateree River, Santee, 4 inches. Ellery, near 3.5. Same thing when you get over to I-95 and Bass Drive as you're crossing over by Lake Marion. Out into Utah Springs, nearly 3.5 inches of rainfall. Just west of Utahville, 4.5 inches. Then you get down to Holly Hill, 3. Areas around Four Holes to Tucktown, 3.5 to nearly 4.25 inch of rainfall. And keep in mind, it started raining overnight last night in these areas. So this rainfall, heavy at times, started about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it didn't start tapering off until near 6 o'clock this evening. Overall, what we're looking at right now is that we still have quite a bit of rainfall. Notice the spin. As Ian has been moving off, we have a back-end spin of all the rain coming through. And at this point, the amount of rainfall that we are seeing currently, at least over the last 30 minutes, is starting to taper off, and we're not expecting this rain to continue past midnight. That's the good thing. And as you can see right now, in many areas of our Midlands communities, it's still raining in some areas. It is very cloudy. But the way it looks right now is going to be a whole different ball of wax when we wake up tomorrow, because 1, it won't be raining, 2, it won't be as windy, and 3, we'll see a little bit of sunshine. That's your update on now post-tropical Ian. We'll have more on News 19 coming up at 11 o'clock tonight. For now, stay inside until this all blows away and enjoy the rest of your evening.